Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping back down in the charts for XRP. See what's been going on most recently and what I would expect to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that, and if you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. Fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. Right, with all that said, done and out of the way, let's jump on down into the charts here for XRP, right? So we have XRP paired up with USDT. We're on the hourly chart and Binance is our data source. Now, there's a lot of noise here and there's a lot of things going on. This is actually kind of a zoomed out view of the hourly chart. Now, I just wanted to kind of start here to kind of give you an understanding that we are tracking down on a slightly macro view. And I'll get into the macro view later in this video. But as we take a look at this on the hourly chart, we can really review the kind of progress that is being made here as we look to come down to the lower ranges. This is about, if I actually estimated this at one point, about 57 cent to about 61 cent, right? So we've got a significant way still to go. And basically, I think that's the point of reversal where we're going to see a significant surge going up. It can, of course, overextend there. It can also fall short of there. But I think essentially we've got to move up and then we've got to come back down. And as long as Bitcoin behaves itself and stops at about $34,000, I don't think we're going to break down lower than about 57 cents. So we'll see how that plays out over time. But let's actually focus in on what's going on now. Now, this is obviously the hourly chart. And this basically means that we're going to think about things that are going to play out over the next couple of days, maybe up to a week, right? Nothing too major, quite short time frame, right? Not instantaneous, not like on the 5-minute chart where we're talking instantaneous gains or losses. We're talking about, several days, okay? But not really multiple weeks or anything like that. Essentially what we have here is 5 waves coming on down here, right? We have these last 5 waves. This is actually a 3-3-5 structure in my opinion, which is an ABC move. This is basically completing our A wave. And then we're bouncing on up here. Now, there's a couple of scenarios here that could play out. And for the most part, I don't think we're actually done pushing up. I think this is actually a large ABC. So we have this as an A wave coming up. This is our B wave, and then we'll push up a little bit higher. Okay, and I think this because if we bring the 𝗕𝗪𝗪 into play, we can see that at the moment, this is just bouncing around on the hourly chart. But if we take a look at the 4-hourly, we're actually in an okay position to move up. The 8-hourly chart's completely oversold, and the daily chart's actually come down a fair amount. So we should be moving up, right? The upward directional move is what we're looking for here across the board for XRP. Now, on the weekly, though, we've got to go down, right? We've got to correct that weekly chart in order to make it more in line with where our monthly 𝗕𝗪𝗪 is. So across all those different timelines, there's different things that are going on. So when it comes to the hourly chart and over the next kind of couple of days, we are thinking that we are more than likely going to be moving up. There might be a little bit more volatility to the downside, but for the most part, we should be thinking about the direction of going up first. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you a couple of things. Okay, so we have a high point just up here, and we have the low point, this point over here. Now, if this has reached a low, which I don't think it has, but if it has, hypothetically, then we're talking about pushing up to about 82 cent on the next move up. Now, the reason that I say I don't think this is actually completely finished correcting is obviously that 𝗕𝗪𝗪 is not oversold or anything like that. So, and there's still potential to come back down. I think Bitcoin has to pull back a little bit further, and therefore I think XRP is going to pull back as well. So if we actually now take a look at this corrective move over in total, right, we come down here. This is a bouncing point. We bounced up to this high point here. We can see that we're past the 1-to-1 ratio, but we're not actually anywhere near the 1.236 yet. So it is possible that we pull down to around 69.8 cent. It is also possible that we go down to about 68.83. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly mark those two areas up because I don't think we're going to go down too much lower than these 2 fib levels, okay, the 1.382 and the 1.236. I think these are going to be the areas that we're more than likely going to overextend into, with emphasis on the 69.8. Okay, I think that's probably the one that we really want to focus in on a little bit there. So essentially what this will look like will be a giant A, B, and a slightly overextended C. Okay, this will then obviously be coupled up with our larger move here of an ABC, and there's nothing special about that one. And then there we go. I mean, you can argue that maybe you got the 5 waves at the end there, making it a 3-3-5. That's probably the only thing special about that. that move. So essentially we'll pull back down. Once we get to this point here, we'd then be talking about a move back to the upside. And again, as I said, right, depending on how low we go, it will depend on the progress that gets made here. So if I grab the high to the low again, we'll move this over. Let's just hypothetically say we have the worst case scenario and we drop all the way down to that kind of 68.84. Then we're talking about 80 cent. We've spoken about 80 cent before quite a bit. And essentially all of this is one giant A wave coming up, one giant B wave coming down, and then another big wave going up. And again, that wave going up will not just be a straight line either. It would be basically another ABC, and inside here you might have a whole host of different volatility moves going on that might make it be a 335 or a 535 or whatever, right? Something is going to happen that take us to about 80 cent. We don't know what that's going to be, but I expect it to be 3 waves. I wouldn't expect it to be more than that, but it could be 5. We could end up here with a 335. I don't really care how we get there. The main kind of point of the story here is that we are more than likely, most probably, going to be moving to 80.9 cent. And again, if we actually take a look at that particular area, and that would be our B wave just here, that would actually be quite an interesting area of previous support and resistance, so could be a really good area for rejection and reversal. Okay, so obviously that kind of plots out the journey here. Quite messy, quite noisy. I'll remove some of the sub wave counts, and then you can kind of see that's the bigger move, like the big A, big B, and a big C wave going up higher. Okay, now as I zoom on out, what does this actually then look like? Well, it looks like we have then completed the B wave bounce, and then we should pull back down towards our lower range. Now, again, this could be a 335, it could be a 535, it could be any structure going on down, right? And really that's going to be determined by what Bitcoin does, in my opinion. Okay, and then once we come back down into this low range, we should be looking for the reversal and the big surge going upwards. And if we zoom out into our daily chart here and bring this down, all of that is comprised inside here. So you see this big ABC coming down right at this end section, just over here. Let me just bring this into view right here. So that A, B, and C, right? That 80 cents is where we're heading for the B wave bounce. And then we pull all the way down to this 57 to 61 cent range. And this is basically a part of an Elliott wave triangle on our daily chart. And if we bring all that out, we can actually see the structure of everything that's going on. This is why we often say on this channel, guys, that if you're in doubt, zoom out, because on here you can see the macro view, right? People often say if you hodl and you think long enough term, you're not going to lose in this space, at least not when you're this early, right? That might change in the future when you find that things actually have been peaking out. But in my mind, that's not like until 2025, 2030. Personally, in my mind anyway. But nonetheless, here we have a triangle, right? And if we zoom out far enough, we're able to see this. And basically what we have is the fantastic A wave going up, although we will highlight 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗧 just here, right? That was a fantastic opportunity, by the way. I do remember basically when we were doing a lot of the XRP stuff back then, how we had this fantastic run across to the kind of the flare snapshot, the lawsuit that got dropped, and everyone was complaining at the top here that they wanted cheaper XRP, and well, they got it for Christmas as 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗧 left the office. But essentially, nobody was actually buying. There's so much fear. So me and Chris, on the other hand, we stacked up massively. And that's kind of these opportunities that you see in the space, right? A massive pullback like this was only going to lead us up to this high point, based again on subwave counting. What do you have? You have A, B, and C. Okay, so fantastic kind of way to kind of articulate that out a little bit. But nonetheless, fantastic runs were made. We obviously hit the high points. We pulled back down and we started this triangle. This triangle has been in play since April of 2021. So well across a year now, this triangle has been in play, and it's played out quite beautifully. And we're right at the very end of this now, and at the end of this E wave, okay, and the E wave can be unpredictable. This is why I was saying, right, 57 to 61 is where I'm expecting it to finish. However, it is possible that this E wave overextends and goes massively down much lower than expected, okay, and this is because an E wave doesn't really have any strict rules about it. It could be short, it could be long. For the most part, this is where I'm expecting it to be, but it doesn't mean that that's where it's going to land, okay? E-waves are very unpredictable. Once it is complete, however, we would expect some kind of impulsive structure to come on out of here, and we end up with like a 5-wave move going higher. And it doesn't really matter too much whether we think it's going to be 5 waves or whether it turns out to be 3 waves. The C wave on the 1-to-1 ratio with our A wave would put XRP right up here at $9.97. So not too bad of a price move from 57 cent. It was basically about 16x's. It's not massive, but it's not short either. It's a little bit more than 10x, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities across many other altcoins, not just XRP, with very similar numbers. So it's not shooting out of its range by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, timing this is going to be really hard. We don't know. I would like to see maybe settlement between the SEC and Ripple. That'll be the big catalyst for this. But obviously, with the delays with the lawsuit, you're probably talking 2023, which would not be necessarily best suited to this particular I guess, structure here, because we want to break out here. We want to break out. We want fantastic FOMO and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking settlement, but I've always thought settlement, even since we were down here when the lawsuit was dropped. We were thinking, well, it seems to make no sense that the SEC would want to embarrass themselves for a long period of time. And I was wrong about that. I mean, they've definitely done a really good job of embarrassing themselves for a long time. Nowhere else in the world, specifically even here in the UK, XRP is just an exchange token. We understand that it's not a security, and the SEC will eventually hopefully come to the same conclusion, right? And I know this is about prior sales and all of that, and maybe at early stages it was, maybe it wasn't. I'll leave that for them guys to decide. I don't really care. I think essentially one of the things that's going to come out of here through settlement is going to be clarity, and it's going to have to be provided by default. So win, if the SEC win, then they're going to have to acknowledge that it was a security. And then is it a security going forward? That clarity has to be there in my mind. Otherwise, how do you move further forward? You can't without knowing what it is, right? And the SEC should be able to provide that clarity by the end of this lawsuit. And if, of course, Ripple win, well, therefore, it's not a security. It never was a security, and maybe fair notice defense or whatever. But clarity should also come to that point as well. Settlement should involve clarity over what XRP is, and that's probably why settlement hasn't actually arrived there yet. I don't think the SEC want to necessarily give XRP clarity, mainly because I think they'd actually have to make a decision, and well, history tells us they don't like to do that. So for that part, we'll have to see how it plays out. I do think though clarity will be given by default one way or another, and you'll be able to move further forward. And once you have that, I think the entire crypto space will also be in a bit of a relief. They'll be able to understand what XRP is, and maybe use that as a bit of a bridge as to understanding what maybe other assets are in the future, use it as precedent, etc. I think that's really what the US Exchange Commission are trying to basically do. They want to use Ripple as a bit of a ground to go further forward into other cryptocurrencies. Losing it really for them isn't viable, because if they lose that, then obviously they lose going further forward in the crypto space by they lose a lot of ground, basically, is what I guess what I'm trying to say. But essentially, I do think that it'll end in settlement. Settlement is probably the way that's is going to end, just because the SEC have kind of really made a bit of a shit show of the whole thing so far. And yeah, they can't afford the loss, right? So they're going to have to kind of settle, in my opinion. Obviously, the terms of settlement, who knows, but it should include clarity. In doing so, we'll eventually be able to see XRP listed on exchanges in the US again, and all that kind of good stuff. The FOMO will kick in because it's got clarity, and bam, we should be on our way to 997. So a delay in the court case isn't great for this particular outcome, but one way or another, I see us moving up, whether we have to grow with the crypto space, as I said. 16x's isn't exactly too extreme, nor is 997 for XRP here. So these two things, they are well within grasp of XRP, considering the entire crypto space will balloon up at the same time. So ultimately, I don't think that's too much of an overstretch. I have highlighted here as well the key 3 areas that we might also find that we actually stop, because we don't have that clarity necessarily. We don't have that extreme amount of FOMO required to get the 1-to-1 ratio. We might actually find that the 618 is a stopping block for us, the 702 is a stopping block for us, or the 786. Basically, anywhere between $3.20 and $5.28. These are 2 things that we should probably be quite aware of, or 3 kind of key levels that we should be aware of on our journey out of this triangle, because these are going to be key areas moving further forward, and it's whether or not we're going to find massive amounts of rejection. As you can see, I deliberately drew this third wave as a resistance blocker on that 786. I would expect us to get rejected regardless, but the structure going up to it will be what determines how high we push after, if we even push up higher afterwards. Okay, so I'll be looking for this to be a third wave on the best scenario. If it's just an end of a C wave, that's not necessarily going to be painting XRP in the best of lights. But guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.